Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So previously what we have discussed in the statistic video, we had seen a question and basically we have done that question. Just let me quickly show you that question which we had done. So yeah, this was the question which we had previously seen and we had just done this question right at the previous time from the like concept of central limit theorem for sample means, right? We had just applied the central limit theorems and even we had find the probability and even we had just found the percentile also, right? So these were the things which we had seen previously. Now today basically what we are going to see is about the confidence intervals. Now today we are going to start one new topic and the name for that topic is basically confidence intervals. So just let me quickly write that here. So it's something like confidence intervals. Okay, so this is the topic basically which we are going to study, that is confidence interval. So like when I'm just going to tell you that actually what this means. So before just telling you that confidence interval what it actually is, so I would just like mention here two things that you should just keep in mind while the topic whenever like we are studying about the confidence interval. So just keep in your mind these two things which I'm just going to tell you right now. Okay, so firstly is that confidence level. Here I would write confidence level is a random variable. Okay, so confidence level is also a random variable, right? So what is actually random variables? These all things we had already seen previously. Okay, so I'm not just going to repeat that thing right now. So what is actually confidence level is a random variable. Okay, I would just request you to keep this first thing in mind, and the second thing is that it is a let's say I'm just writing it is a parameter. Okay, let's say I'm naming it as parameter for now. Okay, I'm just not writing the full name. I'm just writing it is a parameter that is fixed. So before whenever I'm just going to introduce you right now to confidence level, I'm just going to tell the formulas, I'm just going to tell the definitions. So before that thing, just keep these 2 points in your mind very properly, that confidence level is a random variable and it is a parameter that is fixed. Okay. Now whatever I'm just going to tell you right now, just listen to me very carefully. Be properly attentive while seeing the video and while studying that whatever I'm just telling you. And even I would just request you to make your own notes also, right? So I'm just writing these things for you so that you can also have a note of all these things at your place, right? So confidence level is random variable and it is a parameter that is fixed. Fine. Now let's move towards the definition for the confidence interval, that how we'll just define this. Okay. So now I will just start writing, and with me you also just start writing a confidence interval is another type. A confidence interval is another type of estimate. Okay, it is another type of estimate. We had seen previously many types, right? So this is another type of estimate, but here we have one condition. But instead of being just one number, instead of being just one number, it is, and here I would just come down. Okay, it is an interval of numbers. It is an interval of numbers. So this is where you can just define that what actually a confidence interval is. So a confidence interval is another type of estimate, but instead of being just one number, it is an interval of numbers. Okay, so basically what happens in confidence intervals, we have an interval of numbers. It is not that there is only one single number. No, it is not the case in the confidence interval. So in confidence interval, what is the case is that there are interval of numbers. Now, what does actually we mean from interval of numbers? Let's say you are having numbers from 2 to 4, all the numbers from 2 to 4. So that is the interval of number, that from 2 till 4 you are having all the numbers. So this is actually what is called as an interval of number. And even I will just let you know the proper definition also for the interval of numbers. So I will just change a color here for a while so that you can just differentiate in definitions also. Okay, so here I would write the interval of numbers. Okay, so that you can just have a proper like definition for interval of numbers also. The interval of numbers is a range of values, is a range of values calculated from a given set of sample data. Okay, so interval of numbers is actually a range of values which are calculated from a given set of sample data. Fine. So this is actually what is the definition for interval of numbers. You can just like tell anyone, if anyone basically asks you that what actually you just meant from the term that is interval of numbers, because this interval of numbers is the term which we had added in the definition for the confidence index, right? Confidence interval. So whenever you're just gonna tell a definition for confidence interval, this term that is interval of numbers, that will actually come here, right? So now for that you can just actually tell that the interval of numbers is a range of values calculated from a given set of sample data. Fine. Now that is okay. Now what else? What else I just need to tell here? Tell to you about that confidence interval. So here I would just write the confidence interval. The confidence interval is, and let me just come down here, let me just like have some space. The confidence interval is likely to include an unknown population parameter. So the confidence interval is likely to include an unknown population parameter. So basically whenever we are just gonna like find the confidence interval or use this confidence interval, so in that basically there would be like one more thing included, and that is actually what is the population parameter. Fine. Now here I would just let you know some formula for that population, this confidence interval. So I would just again change my color for you. I would just take as green right now. Okay. Now here I'm just telling you something to remember, so just like keep that thing in mind, and also like keep that thing in your notes also. Okay, so here it is, remember that a confidence confidence interval is created for an unknown population parameter, and here even I would just write as unknown. Okay, just let me quickly erase that, because for an unknown population parameter. So this is the first thing which you should keep in mind, that remember that a confidence interval is created for an unknown population parameter. Like, now what are actually population parameters? Like population mean. Okay, so here this population parameter actually includes the population mean, and that is actually mu, right? So like this is the example, one example. So remember that a confidence interval is created for an unknown population parameter like population mean. So whenever you are just gonna create the confidence interval, okay, so that is actually created for the population parameters like population mean, population standard deviation, and all that things, correct? Now here I would just include that parameters. So confidence interval. Okay, so confidence interval for some parameters, now as I defined earlier about the parameters, right? So confidence interval for some parameters have the form. Now they have a form also. Okay, so I'm just telling you about that form here. So confidence interval for some parameters have the form, and here what I would just do, I would just again take a different color for now, and here I would just take this one, and I would just put the bracket. Okay, now in this bracket the first parameter is post estimate. Now actually what are all these terms? So basically you will just get these things, like what are these and how to use, like as the time comes you will just get all these things whenever we're just going to do some questions. Okay, so post estimate minus margin of error, and here you will put a comma, and here even the second one is post estimate plus margin of error. So these are the some form of the parameters which we have here, okay, in the confidence interval, and the bracket gets closed. So post estimate minus margin of error, comma post estimate plus margin of error. So here we had written that, remember that a confidence interval is created for an unknown population parameter like population mean, and confidence interval for some parameters have the form, and this is the form for that parameters. Okay, so these are the like some common form for the parameters. Now one just thing here, that what is this margin of error? Okay, now just quickly let me tell you about that margin of error. So the margin of error depends, the margin of error actually on the confidence level, depends on the confidence level, or, and just let me come down, okay, the margin of error depends on the confidence level or percentage, percentage, or percentage of confidence. Okay, so now the margin of error, what is actually that? The margin of error actually depends on the confidence level and the percentage of the confidence, fine. So here it was about that actually what confidence level is. So just let me quickly take one more time that whatever I have just told you right now, and for that I would just take a marker, let's say here, and okay, this one is okay, fine. So there were two things which I in the starting before telling the definition for the confidence interval. I told, now just please listen to me very carefully because I'm just giving a whole summary whatever I have just told you right now. Okay. So before giving the definition for the confidence intervals, I told you two things about confidence interval to keep in mind. First one is that confidence level is a random variable. Okay. And second is it is a parameter that is fixed. Right. Then I told you about the definition of confidence interval. So a confidence interval is another type of estimate, but instead of being just one number, it is an interval of number. Now, okay, I'm just like erase this color and I will just take the yellow only. Yeah, here. It is actually the interval of numbers. So just this is the thing which you should keep in mind and like note it for a like give it a high note, that basically a confidence interval is another type of estimate, but instead of being just one number, confidence interval is an interval of numbers. Then we discuss about that what is actually an interval of numbers. So the interval of numbers is a range of values calculated from a given set of sample data, fine. Then we discuss the confidence interval is likely to include an unknown population parameter, okay, and then we just discuss that what are that parameters. Remember that a confidence interval is created for an unknown population parameter like population mean and all that things. And at last we just discussed a form. So the confidence interval for some parameters have the form, and here we have that form, that is post estimate minus margin of error and comma post estimate plus margin of error. So on the above one it is minus and on the down one it is plus, and the margin of error depends on the confidence level or percentage of confidence, right? So here I just told you that actually what is confidence interval and what are the forms that actually this confidence interval follows, and what are the parameters which you have here, what is what is the interval of numbers and all that thing I just discussed here, right? Now what in the next video we'll be seeing some examples and some more things in this. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.